Alright, writing equations of lines. In the last one we took equations and graphed it. Now we're going to take characteristics and write equations of lines. So what is slope? Well, slope is how much the y changes, change in y, or some other variable, versus change in x. And it's a ratio. And we always do the change in y over the change in x. Because we talk about, well, how much does it go up versus every increase in x? And so the change in y over the change in x. Remember that what we're doing is if we have a point here and a point here, how much did it go up the change in y? And to find that, you're going to subtract this y value from this y value. You're going to do y2 minus y1. And to find the change in x, you're going to subtract this x value from this x value. And so you're going to x2 minus x1. And so that's the equation you're used to. So 2 minus 2, negative 5 minus 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. So it doesn't really matter what the bottom does, but it's 0 over negative 10, and so you get 0. Keep in mind, this point doesn't always have to be x2 and y2, because we could have given you the points in the opposite order. So what if I had done 2 minus 2, this 2 minus this 2, and 5 minus a negative 5? Well, that would have given me 0 over positive 10, but it still would be 0. You get the same slope either way as long as you start with the same one, top and bottom. But for sake of what everybody's used to, we'll just do 6 minus 1, negative 4, minus 6. 6 minus 1 is 5, negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10. So let's reduce that to negative 1/2. Take the 5 out of top and bottom. This one, we've got a 9 minus a 4, leaving us 5, and a 2 minus 2, leaving us 0. So this is the trick, because 0 divided by 10 left is 0, but we always get it confused with 5 divided by 0, and we need to keep it straight. If you start with $0 and you are just so generous to share it with 10 of your friends, all of your friends are going to end up with 0. But if you take 5 and split it up into 0 parts, well, if you split it up into 1/2, 1/4, and kept getting it smaller and smaller, your parts are going to increase in size eventually. But the closer and closer you get to 0, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. So some people say, well, it's got to be infinity. Closer and closer you get to dividing by 0, you get to infinity. However, the closer and closer you get to dividing by 0 from the negative side, it goes down and gets really big. And so it's approaching infinity, it's approaching negative infinity, so the problem is it's undefined, because you can't be approaching a positive, really huge positive number and a huge negative number. Basic terms here: a vertical line, and if you put the points right on top of each other, you know it's vertical. Vertical line, well, is it really, really positive, or is it really, really negative? And you can't say, because it could be going up or it could be going down, but really it's doing both. So we say it's undefined. Give the slope of each line. So x plus y equals 0. So to know the slope in an equation like this, you have to get it into y equals mx plus b. The m is your slope. So if you can get the y by itself. So let's subtract x from both sides, and you get y equals negative x. So that means the slope is negative 1. Let's do the same thing with this one. Let's subtract the ax to the other side, plus 7. And then let's divide by a. Y equals negative a divided by a plus 7 divided by a. All we're interested in is this. Anything divided by itself is 1, and because it's got a negative in front, it's negative 1. So reduce the fraction. If we subtract the x from both sides, it actually cancels out on both sides, so y equals negative 7. It doesn't have an mx, so it must mean that m is 0, but if you're not convinced, graph the line. Y equals negative 7. It's down here, and it goes straight across. All these y values are negative 7. 0, negative 7, 1, negative 7, all these y values are negative 7, so you're good to go. Alright, so we have multiple different forms that help us write equations of lines. Standard form is the ax plus by equals c. Now, so this is where x and y are on the same side, and we say specifically that a, b, and c are integers. So what I mean by that is negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and so on and so forth on both sides. The basic rule is no fractions. And no square roots and all that as well, but fractions are usually the biggest problem. Point slope form is when you have a point and a slope, and you want to write the equation of the line. Looks like y minus y1 times your slope, x2 minus x1. Now, if you forget where this comes from, it's really just the slope equation in disguise. If you divided this back to this side, m is multiplied by that. So if you divide the x2 minus x1 to the other side, you really have your slope equation. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals your slope. So this can go up here. And then finally, slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So the beauty of this is you really only have to know one of these. There are benefits to both. And then there's a benefit to standard form. It doesn't tell you your slope, but sometimes it's really easy to write equations in standard form, and so we're going to keep it around. And all of these questions are going to ask us to rewrite the equation in standard form, no matter how we find it. But everything in writing an equation of a line, first you have to find the slope. So find the equation of the line. So let's find the slope. 4 minus 5, negative 6 minus a negative 3. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. This is really plus, so we get 1/3. Now, to find the actual equation, I'm going to use slope-intercept form. And actually, I'm going to do this one graphically, just because I can. So that's the 1 point, negative 3, 5, and negative 6, 4 is the other one. And actually, so negative 3, 5, negative 4, 5, 6,